Hello everyone, this is Max here with another video about Princess Connect. In this video, I'm going to talk about story events and how they work. So the global server announced that it's getting its first story event, which is Hatsune's Perfect Present on February 17th. And story events in Princess Connect are a recurring monthly feature. They all follow basically the same formula. They reward gems, divine amulets, and character fragments. Some of them also have fairly entertaining stories. They're highly worth your time doing. For purposes of this video, I'm going to be using the ongoing story event on the CN server, which is the Valentine's Day event, to demonstrate. You enter the story event by clicking on the story event banner on the main page, and once you're there, first thing you're able to do initially, because everything else is locked, is you go into the story event stages, and at first only the normal story event maps are available. There is always going to be 15 normal maps in total. The normal maps have first time clear rewards of gems, much like the way that normal story maps do, and they also drop things like boss tickets, random equipment, and a small chance of something called boss tokens. Once you clear all 15 of the normal story event maps, you will unlock the normal boss. You need the boss tickets, which you got earlier from doing the normal maps, to do the normal boss. Once you kill the normal boss once, you unlock the hard mode. And the hard maps, there's going to be 5 of them in total, and each of them has a cap of 3 times per day. Once you clear each hard map at least once, you unlock the hard boss. And the hard boss, kind of like the normal boss, needs boss tickets to challenge. 30 per try for the hard boss. One thing to know about the bosses for the story events is that their health carries over in between tries. So if you're not able to kill the boss, for example, in one try, you get it to 50% health and then your team dies, you can spend another 30 boss tickets to try again, and this time the boss will start at 50% health. If you are able to one turn kill the boss 3 times, you unlock the skip ticket functionality, and from that point forward, you don't have to keep doing the bosses manually. You can just use skip tickets. I would say the difficulty of both the normal and hard bosses are fairly easy, and I think for global players that have been playing since launch, and I do mean the actual official launch, so you should be around level 60 or 70 by now, there should not be too much difficulty for you to kill the hard boss in one turn. However, if you are a newer player, for example, you started maybe a couple of days to a week ago, it might be a bit of a challenge for you to kill the hard boss in one turn. And if that is the case, what I do recommend you doing is to ignore the hard boss for now and hold on to your boss tickets. You can wait until it's the end of the event, because the event lasts for a pretty long time, I think around 2 weeks or more. And maybe your team will have grown, hopefully a little bit stronger by then, and you can one turn kill the boss. This will allow you to save your boss tickets, because if you need 2 turns to kill the boss, you'll spend 60 boss tickets to get the same rewards as someone who can one turn kill the boss while spending only 30 boss tickets. So I've mentioned boss tokens that you get from killing the bosses, and what are they used for? Well, they are used for the event gacha, which is this thing right here. And before I talk about the event gacha, there's one very important thing I have to mention here, which is there's a setting button on top. It's a little bit hidden, but make sure you press this setting, and for this option here, which basically changes how many tokens you spend per pull for the event gacha, change it to 100. The default is 10, and that means you pull the event gacha 10 at a time, and given the number of event gacha pulls you need to do 10 at a time, it's going to take forever. So change it to 100. I didn't know about this option for my first story event when I was playing on CN, and I had to do something like 3,000 or 4,000 pulls 10 at a time. It was, very painful. So anyway, the way the event gacha works in this game is it's separated into boxes. There's 5 boxes in total. You start on the first one, and there's going to be something called a target prize, which is a character's memory pieces. For the first story event on Global, it's going to be Hatsune and Shiori. Once you get the character's memory pieces from the event gacha box, you'll be presented with an option where you can choose to abandon the remaining rewards in that gacha box and move on to the next one. My suggestion for the first 2 boxes is that you move on to the next one as soon as you get the memory pieces. And the reason for this is because the amount of gems you can get out of the first 2 boxes is fairly minimal. It's 25 for the first one, 100 for the second one. However, starting from the 3rd box onwards, I do suggest only moving on to the next box after you've gotten at least all of the gems out of that box. The 3rd one has 225, 4th one has 500. Once you reach the 5th box is a little bit different. It's what's called a repeating box or an infinite box. And essentially the way it works is starting from the 5th box and onward, once you've fully emptied out the gacha box, gotten everything out of it, you'll have the option of resetting the box, and all of the rewards will come back into it. So you can keep spending boss tokens to get stuff out of the 5th box. Now, in the example I'm showing here, you see the 5th box has a character's memory pieces, and this is actually Valentine Eriko, who is a event limited character on the event for CN. That is not going to be the case for the first story event on Global. For the first story event on Global, because there is no event limited character, the 5th box is going to instead have divine amulets and gems in the 5th box, and so you can keep pulling those, and when you reset it, the gems and the divine amulets will come back. So to sum it up, basically for story events, you go into the story event, you do the maps for boss tickets, you use the boss tickets to kill the bosses, which drops boss tokens, and then you use the boss tokens to open the event gacha. Pretty simple, right? So the next thing I'll talk about is generally how much stamina you should be investing into story events, what maps you should be doing, and what boss you should be doing. So in terms of generally how much stamina and what maps you should be doing, my advice for everyone is, at a minimum, what you should do for all story events is to clear all 5 of the hard story event maps 3 times every day. That means clearing out all 5 maps. By doing this, and assuming you're able to kill the hard mode boss in 1 turn, you'll accumulate throughout the duration of the event enough boss tokens to empty out the first 4 event gacha boxes, and either empty out the 5th box or at least make pretty good progress into it. Now, in terms of then putting additional stamina into the event, for the first global story event, I do not recommend putting additional stamina into the event, farming the normal maps. And the reason for this is because the efficiency of the normal maps is pretty low in terms of the boss ticket to stamina ratio compared to the hard mode maps. And at this stage for the global server, I think the vast majority of players still need to farm regular story maps, and that's myself included. I do play on the global server. You need to farm the regular story maps in order to start up your characters, and that's far more important than getting a little bit more boss tokens so you can do a little bit more of the event gacha. So again, the advice is ignore the normal maps after you've cleared them for the first time. Do all of the hard mode maps every day, and just try to 1 turn kill the hard boss if you can, and see how far you get in the event. This advice will be a little bit different for later story events because some of the later story events, starting with the summer event, will have event limited characters, and these are limited characters that you can only farm for during the story event. Some of them are extremely good or extremely powerful, and they're definitely worth investing extra stamina into during those events, but that's not the case for the first story event. Okay. However, if you do decide that you want to invest additional stamina into this story event, you might be wondering which map you should be doing, and the answer for that is pretty simple. You do 1-15. The reason for this is because all of the normal maps have basically the same boss ticket to stamina ratio. However, 1-15 consumes more stamina, and therefore it will save you on stamina on skip tickets. And I believe it also has a higher chance of dropping gold equipment, which I think some people may still need. So just do 1-15. There is occasionally sometimes talk of doing map 1-10 for new players, and the reason for that is because map 1-10, you can see, costs 9 stamina to do, but it actually gives out 10 stamina points, and this is fairly different from how most other places that spend stamina work. In most other places, you get stamina to experience at a 1-to-1 ratio. Here you're getting it at a 9-to-10 ratio, which is, it'll help new players level up a little bit faster. That said, my opinion is, even if you are a new player and you haven't hit max level, I don't think it's worth doing 1-10 just for that little bit of extra EXP. I think it's better that you just keep doing 1-15. Number one, because skip tickets, for whatever reason, is still a scarce resource on global server. And number two, you'll probably need the gold equipment that drops from it more than you really need the extra bit of EXP that you can get. And that pretty much covers everything I want to say about story events. I mean, you want to make sure, you check all of the mission tabs and make sure you collect all of the first time rewards, but that should be fairly obvious. You also want to make sure you watch all of the story event chapters, or at a bare minimum skip through them, because they do give gems and memory pieces. And if you have any other questions, feel free to leave them in the comments, and I'll try to answer when I see them. That's all for this video. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.